This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Stuff You Should Know is brought to you by Grainger. Grainger knows that if you're an HVAC technician and a call comes in, you need a partner that helps you find the right product, fast and hassle-free. And you know that when the first problem of the day is a clanking blower motor, there's no need to break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product details, you can be confident that soon you'll have everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage, because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark. There's Chuck Bryant, and there's Jerry Rowland over there. And if you put all three of us together, you get a little something called Stuff You Should Know.
Oh, man. You did
the
sound
Hoover
drunk.
Dam. Hoover Dam edition.
Hoover.
Have you ever been to Hoover Dam?
I have been there twice.
Show off.
Yeah, I went in 91.
Oh, the Great Hoover Dam Tour of 91, sure.
It was it may have been 89. Almost cussed right then.
Yeah, I heard that. I almost did that the other day, too.
I'm getting to movie crushy.
Sure.
It may have been 89 or 90. It was when I went out to visit my brother when he lived in L.A. and we met in Las Vegas, drove down to the Hoover Dam and then back to L.A. So
was it the first time you guys met?
Yeah, it was great. And then I went again in 96, for sure 96. And
okay.
I think both times I took the tour. And have you ever been? It's really something else.
Yeah, it's for the first time. You mean I went about a year ago. We drove from Scottsdale to Vegas and stopped in Hoover Dam on the way, and it was great.
As you do. It
was very, very cool. Well, there's nothing. Hoover Dam, Vegas is kind of how it goes.
Yeah, and we'll get to the water levels, but it's startling from when I was there what it looks like now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like if you'd gone any time before about 2000, from what I understand, it's like a different place.
Yeah.
But the dam's still there and it's still intact and doing really well. You got that at least, right? It's just the ecological catastrophe that's kind of looming that kind of is a downer.
That's right. And we should give a big shout out to Julia Layton, who used to be one of the great writers for HowStuffWorks.com back when we were still associated with that website.
I think she might still write for him occasionally.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's great, and now we are commissioning some articles from her, and boy, she's good.
Yes, she is. So what's her nickname, Chuck? The Lates?
Julia Layton. Lates? No, because that sounds like she's not tardy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Let's just call her Dr. Layton.
Okay, there you go.
Although I don't think she's a doctor, but she does have her master's in writing.
That's right. So
way better than me.
She cranks out some good stuff.
That's right. So thanks, Julia.
I'm glad you called that out, Chuck. Well done. So let's go back, shall we, to a time in the little area of the southwestern United States where Arizona reaches out to hug Nevada. Which way are we supposed to say it?
Well, we're supposed to say Nevada, but we're not from there, so we'll say Nevada.
Right, like everybody else, right? And where they almost meet, there's a little gorge. There's a canyon. Well, there's a lot of canyons, but there's one in particular, and it's called Boulder Canyon. And if you went to Boulder Canyon today to find the Hoover Dam, you would be SOL because while they were originally going to build the Hoover Dam at Boulder Canyon, so much so that the name of the project for the first decade or so was called the Boulder Dam.
Yeah.
Just Boulder once, not two boulders. The Boulder Dam project. They actually moved it a little further upstream to a much more suitable site called Black Canyon. And if you go visit the Hoover Dam today, that's where you're actually going. It's Black Canyon, where Nevada and Arizona almost meet.
That's right. And this idea was conceived, this concrete gravity arch hydroelectric dam. Hydroelectric?
Almost. Almost there.
Hydroelectric, excuse me. This was all conceived because, well, for three reasons plus a cherry on top. One is that the Colorado River had a bad habit of flooding and causing lots of devastation.
Just a nasty boy.
So to lasso that beast. Number two, to create water in times of drought, as creating a big reservoir that would be Lake Mead. To create energy. I love things that kill all these birds,
So many dead birds
and
around
I love
there.
birds. And then finally, the little cherry on top. Those were the three big reasons they did it. But the cherry on top, it turns out, has been Lake Mead tourism is huge.
Yeah. I think Lake Mead was the first nationally designated recreation area.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It sounds almost Soviet, doesn't it? Like the government's like, this is where you recreate.
Yeah, exactly.
On this particular designated lake.
Travel to the fun zone.
So, the first one, I think, there was like this, this is the 1920s, I think, when the project is really starting to gain steam. And the guy who was the Secretary of Commerce at the time, Herbert Hoover, who would very soon be the President of the United States, who would very shortly after that be like the most hated man in America.
Yeah.
Hoover was like, this is a great idea. There's like this whole spot of land down in the lower United States, and it just wants to be so much more than it is. It wants to be cropland. It wants to be cattle pasture. It wants to be a big old city like LA or Vegas. They're just waiting to pop, but they really are having trouble with water and with flooding. Like it's weird. It's like the Colorado River would be like, not enough, sorry, and then, oh, too much, way more than you ever wanted. And because of this kind of mercurial nature of it, there was just not a lot that could be done with the Southwest unless you figured out a way to tame that river. And, like you were saying, that's what the Hoover Dam was originally intended to do. And that's definitely what it did. I mean, just to kind of let the cat out of the bag early, it was successful as far as dam projects go.
Yeah, and just to clear something up, when you just said Herbert Hoover said big cities like L.A. and Vegas, he had a crystal ball on Vegas because Vegas was cowtown back then.
Yeah, population 5,000 at around 1930.
Yeah, Vegas people didn't want to go there until gambling started happening.
They did have gambling. They had gambling. They had prostitution. They had,
really?
Yes, they had drinking.
I guess casinos.
Right.
Thanks to, what's his name? Bugsy.
Yeah, Bugsy was one of the first, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
He wasn't the first, was he?
I mean, I saw that movie, and if I remember correctly, Warren Beatty built that Flamingo casino and hotel, and that was kind of the first major casino, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds like a guy who deserves his own episode of Stuff You Should Know.
Who, Bugsy or Warren Beatty?
Bugsy.
Okay.
Warren Beatty maybe gets the short stuff.
So the cut. Ooh, man, what a cut. Burn.
Hey, it's better than just ignoring his existence, don't you think?
That's true. So the Colorado River, like we said, it's the seventh longest in the U.S., about close to 1,500 miles of total flow. And I believe that it distributes water, that the river itself and then its tributaries, to about 25 million people, 15% of the crops in the U.S., and 13% of the livestock drink its water in the United States.
It does now.
Well, sure.
So before the Hoover Dam project, when the Colorado just did whatever the Colorado wanted to do, it's not like the people of the Southwest had not tried to tame it before. They had extensive irrigation canals and ditches and dikes and earthworks and everything they could think of to keep the river going this way or that way and to keep it from flooding. And none of it worked. I mean, it would work some, like yes, an irrigation canal would work and you could irrigate your crops, but eventually the river was going to flood. And because you had diverted the river toward your cropland, when it flooded that irrigation ditch, and it flooded your cropland too, which was a real problem for you because when eventually it would recede, you might have a lot more dirt than you used to. Probably pretty fertile dirt, but your crops would be gone. Maybe some of your cows got carried away. You might have lost your 10-gallon hat. It's not a good deal when your cropland gets flooded. And so this was kind of what was going on when they were trying to tame the Colorado. It was just way too big of a project for, a handful of even large-scale farmers to take on, which is one reason why the federal government stepped in, because at the time, there was really no entity that could take on a project like this. And even then, there were a lot of questions like, I'm not even sure the U.S. government can handle this kind of thing. And the government said, oh, well, watch and learn, suckers.
Yeah, so it's 1918 when the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation said, all right, I think we can build a dam of all dams. We're going to make it a gravity arch design. I think that can handle the Colorado River. And we're going to have tunnels and turbines and towers, and we're going to prevent flooding, and we're going to deliver water to people. And the best news is we're going to create, all that's great news, but more great news is we're going to create energy for a ton of people such that this thing will even pay for itself in 50 years' time. Mm-hmm. And like you said, a lot of people, this was 1918, and a lot of people are like, engineers were saying, I don't know if this is possible.
Right. And so not only were people incredulous that it was even possible, there's 7 states that draw water from the Colorado River, which is a pretty long river. It starts in the Rocky Mountains. That's where it's fed by snowmelt up there. And then it goes all the way down to Mexico. And so 7 states lay claim on water. They need water from the Colorado River to live, to irrigate their crops, to feed their livestock. It's the kind of like the main artery for life in the Southwest, or one of them. And when they found out, the people in these 7 states found out the U.S. government was wanting to dam and control the river, they got really worried that really this was just a project to divert all that beautiful water over to California. Because California had it going on by the late 20s, the early mid-20s already, thanks to Los Angeles, thanks to Los Angeles. But it had a lot of potential, and it was growing. San Francisco too.
Sure,
and it was growing in between those two cities. And so the people in like New Mexico and Colorado and Arizona and Nevada were really worried that this was really just the federal government stepping in and saying, thanks a lot, we're going to take this water and send it off to California. And Herbert Hoover actually intervened and said, no. How about this? Before we even get this project underway, we will broker a deal for how the water from the Colorado River gets distributed. And I'm Herbert Hoover. I'm going to be the most hated man in the world, so I'm going to actually purposely inflate the capacity that this reservoir will hold so that no one feels like they're going to get left out. And everybody ended up signing on. So that was technically step -1 or maybe step 0 before the plan was even fully adopted by the government.
Yeah, and it was called the Colorado River Compact, and again, it was just to make, I think the only ones you left out were Utah and Wyoming, and then the other 5. And they said, all right, the way you've apportioned it looks good to us. California was like, we all know that we're really going to get the most water, right? And Hoover was like, totally, don't worry about it. Everyone's going to hate me soon. And many people will hate California one day too. And so Congress said, this looks great. Let's push forward. Despite the fact, I don't think we mentioned yet, that the private sector, of course, if you think the private sector and the government have been, it's like a newish thing that they're arguing over stuff like this, think again. Because since the dawn of time in the United States, the government and the private sector have squabbled. And so obviously private power companies and water companies and just everybody was like, geez, I don't like the sounds of this. Like the government's going to start getting into the electricity business. But regardless, they had no choice. Congress approved the Boulder Dam project, like you said, that would later move to Black Canyon. And for many, many years, it was kind of bounced back and forth between Boulder Dam and then Hoover Dam. They officially called it Hoover Dam in 1931, but like you said 4 times, Hoover, people didn't like him when he left office. So they went, let's call it the Boulder Dam again. And then it took a congressional resolution in 1947 to finally bring it back and give Hoover his due.
Right. And the reason why people hated Hoover, especially right after he left office, like he was a super conservative president. He believed that the federal government should intervene in business and in personal affairs as little as possible. So in the grips, the worst parts of the Great Depression, the greatest economic recession that's ever hit the world, he was literally vetoing bills that would give federal assistance to Americans. So he was very much hated and reviled by the average person and just about everybody when he was soundly defeated by FDR, I think in 1932.
That sounded so uneasy. 1930-ish.
The 1930-ish election.
So obviously, if you're going to undertake a project and award contracts to companies to build this thing, there's probably not one company that can tackle something like this that has all the different skills necessary to build something like the Hoover Dam. So 6 actually companies, 6 big construction firms got together and formed what was called, wait for it, the 6 companies
right.
in 1931. And they served as the kind of mega construction firm that undertook this huge project.
Yeah, they bid the project out at like $48.8 million.
Which is so funny to think about now. Like, that's
it
so
is.
little money for something like this.
Yeah, even when you adjust for inflation, it's still a surprisingly low amount. It comes out to about $800 million. And it's like the federal government today spends $1 billion like it's nothing.
Yeah.
This is like a huge deal that the federal government was spending the equivalent of today's $800 million. But one reason why they went with the 6 companies consortium is because the Bureau of Reclamation, this is the department that oversaw the project, they had calculated the cost themselves, and the 6 companies' bid was only about $24,000 more than than the Bureau of Reclamation had estimated the project would cost.
How much?
About $24,000 over.
Chump change.
Right. So they were like, all right, if you want to build this whole project for $24,000, have at it. And I mean, obviously, they were 6 legitimate major construction companies, and then all of them combined together formed one super construction company. So they seem to be pretty comfortable with this consortium. And from everything I can tell, unless you're a workers' rights kind of person, this company, their faith in this consortium was well placed because they did a pretty good job saving maybe one major mistake, which we'll get to later. It's a pretty good government construction project, if you ask me. Public-private partnership.
All right. I feel like we should take a break now.
Yeah.
And come back and talk about infrastructure right after this. Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Everyone knows winter is the real mess maker. You don't need WeatherTech floor liners for summer unless you hit the beach and half the beach ends up back in your car, or the campsite dirt ends up in your trunk. Then you'd want a cargo liner, or a road trip goes sideways, lemonade spills, ketchup goes rogue, ice cream drips. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy about those WeatherTech seat protectors. So just to be clear, as the mud you're inevitably going to step in this summer, you don't need WeatherTech unless you plan on doing summer. Visit WeatherTech.com today. All right, so we're back, and it would take a couple of years, obviously. You're not going to dive into a project like this right away, because you can't back then, because of where it was located. And if you think about it, like part of the problem with this project from the beginning was its location and how isolated the Southwest was from other like major parts of the U.S. at the time. And so they were like, wait a minute, we're not close to anything. Like Vegas only is the closest place, and it has 5,000 people. That doesn't really help us much. It's like, 20, 30 miles away. So here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to build a town that's really close by for all of our employees and our workers to live. And so they did just that. I think this was about 6 miles away. They literally constructed a city called Boulder City. Right. West of the dam site. It had 758 cottages if you were married and worked or had a family or whatever. It had 9 dormitories for single men. I imagine that was a wild scene. They had a hospital. They had a department store. They had laundry. They had a school. They had a post office. They had liquor stills. And
those were illegal, by the way.
Sure, of course. It was depression or prohibition.
Right.
But they needed their booze. Like, let's be honest. And this city actually remained under government control until 1959 when it got its own incorporation, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, the Hoover Dam was dedicated, like the project was done basically by 1938. 1939. I think they're still working on outbuildings and stuff for a little while, but for 20 years after, a lot of the people who had built the dam were like, I really like this Boulder City town. I'm going to stay here. And one of the reasons why you would stay there is because like the government ran the town. There were no elected officials. There was an appointed Bureau of Reclamation department, like administrator. That was like the de facto mayor of the town. And like if there was something wrong with your house, Bureau of Reclamation workers would come fix it, like your sink or paint your house or whatever. You didn't have to do anything because the government, this is like federal land. And finally in 59?
59.
The government was like, all right, freeloaders.
Yeah.
You can paint your own houses from now on. This is your place. And they incorporated it into a city in 1960, I guess.
Yeah, and it's still one of 2 cities in Nevada that say no gambling here, which is pretty unique.
At the height of this project too, Chuck, Boulder City, which hadn't existed just a couple of years before. Like it wasn't like they took over an existing city and built it up. There was nothing there before, and they built a city from scratch. It had the biggest population in Nevada at the time.
Yeah, more than Vegas.
Yeah, by a few hundred people, I believe.
All right, so they built, this is, keep in mind again, this is before they can even get started on this dam. They say, we got to build a city. We got to build 7 miles of highway. We got to build 23 miles of railway. We got to bring in like 200 miles of power lines. And we have to bring in cableways spanning this canyon. And it's just all this massive amounts of infrastructure to tackle this project where they were going to be paying dudes 50 cents to $1.25 an hour, which is between $8 and $20 an hour in today's dollars.
Right. What's ironic is the harder and the more dangerous your job, typically the less you were paid.
Kind of like today.
Kind of, yeah. There was a group called the Muckers, and they were the ones who had to like get the stone and the sludge and all that stuff out of the canyon bottom, and they got paid the least, even though they were the most exposed to like falling rocks and falling items. And apparently like falling stuff was a real danger on this project.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but a lot of noggins suffered.
Right.
So then the other thing that they had to do, they're like, all right, we got the city built, we got all these highways, we got all this stuff, we got all these people, we got a good plan. They're like, we need to do something with this river because you can't just start stacking rocks and divert the Colorado River. So they literally had to come up with a plan to reroute the Colorado River while they built this thing.
I hadn't thought about that. I'm sure you knew about it 2 times over from your double visits in the tour.
Did you tour it?
No.
Did you just drive across it?
No, we walked around. We didn't take one of the actual like tours.
You were like, it was $17. Are you kidding me?
Like, I'm sure I know as much as this guy. But no. I mean, like we took the whole thing in. We were there for a couple hours and everything. But it was self-guided tour. How about that?
I got you. No, that's great.
But it had never occurred to me, and I didn't learn on this self-guided tour that we just made up ourselves, that you would have to divert the river. That the river was still going through Black Canyon at the time. And you just couldn't build a dam there while the river was trying to get through there.
You can never do that.
There's a lot of stuff you could do. So to divert the river, they did some really ingenious stuff. And if you step back and look at it from like the eyes of a child, it's really just 2, 3, 4 steps in building this dam.
No, that's true.
If you really look at it super high level or super, I guess, childlike again, and all of them make total sense. But just the audacity of saying, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, add that extra step on before we get started. It really kind of goes to the heart of like just what an amazing civil engineering project this was.
Oh, yeah. So like with any dam, if you want to divert that water, you're going to have to go upstream a certain amount, and they have very smart engineers that figure out exactly where to do this. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they built coffer dams, which is a very common thing to do when you want to build a dam downstream. It's basically sort of like a big hole in the river that the water would just flow into these. So the water, instead of going downstream, dumps into these coffer dams, and then it funnels that water into these 4 tunnels, 2 on each side of the canyon, under the canyon instead of between them, diverting everything around to then rejoin the other, those tunnels rejoin each other as the Colorado River once again downstream.
Right. And I think the coffer dam is actually kind of like an earthworks, like a wall inside the water.
Yeah, it's a big hole.
You pump the water out, you kind of make it a hole. But yeah, so these tunnels that they diverted this to, Chuck, were a combined 4 miles. 4 miles of tunnel. So each tunnel was about a mile because there were 4 of them through the canyon rock, which was granite. And they dug out these tunnels and built the coffer dam just to start the whole thing. Not as part of the larger project, but this was like to get started. That was the first thing they had to do.
Yeah, they were 50 feet in diameter. Like these were not small tunnels. They had to be lined with 3 feet of concrete to hold up. And I think the water was racing through those at a rate of 200,000 cubic feet per second.
It's
amazing.
Fast. That's 136 Olympic-sized pools per minute passing through there.
Yeah, I mean, this would be remarkable today, dude.
Yeah. For sure. And as we'll see, those things are still in operation, although they use them differently now. But yeah, that's just a ton of water. And they said, yep, success, it worked. We diverted this water further downstream because the tunnels ended below the dam project site. And then all of a sudden, the Colorado River had been diverted around the dam, and now they could get started.
Right. And so they were like, all right, we feel like we could just quit now because what we did was pretty awesome. Yeah. But we don't have a dam yet. So in this huge canyon, we need, if we're going to build a dam, we need to make these walls smooth because they were, it was a canyon. It was just jagged rock, and you can't just fill in a bunch of concrete against this jagged rock. Right. They have these abutments that are going to secure this huge concrete slab to the canyon walls. So they had to smooth these things out, and that was done by, I want to say the most dangerous job, but it's kind of hard to pick, but the high scalers are definitely up there as far as danger goes.
Mm-hmm. If you go to the Hoover Dam site today, there's a statue of a high scaler. It's a guy like on a rope with like a tool bag hanging from him. He's like scaling down the side of the canyon wall. And that's exactly what they did. Because if you're trying to clear the canyon walls and you're talking, you're 700 feet up between the bottom of the canyon and the canyon rim, you got a lot of rock that you're trying to get out of there. It's not easy. You can't just, hit it with a pole and pry it loose. You have to blast it loose, actually.
They did hit it with poles too, though.
Sure, but to no avail. They spent a good year and a half trying that, and nothing happened. But I'm totally joking about that, by the way.
Yes.
Okay. To blast it, though, Chuck, you have to drill a hole and then put the dynamite in and then blast it. But if you're trying to drill a hole somewhere, halfway between the canyon ridge and the canyon bottom, you have to have a guy on a rope who is willing to swing down there, have a jackhammer, 44-pound jackhammer lowered to him, and then drill a hole with the jackhammer suspended from the edge of the canyon into the midair, and then pack it full of dynamite, light it, get out of the way, let the blast happen, and then come back and then use a pole to pry the rocks loose.
Yeah,
that's what these guys had to do.
And if you want to know how jackhammers work, everybody, let me tell you, we have maybe our best episode ever in 11-ish years is jackhammers.
Seriously. It was the worst one we've ever done. Like, there's no question. Like, the sun, haha, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Jackhammers was actually bad.
At least the sun's an interesting thing.
Right. Right. Good point.
All right. So they're blasting these things out. These dudes, believe it or not, did not even have hard hats at the time. They were not supplied with hard hats.
No, and that's one big criticism of the six companies consortium. They did not care about workers' rights. There was a strike that happened in 1931, and the guy running the show for the 6 companies, his name was Frank Crow. They called him Hurry Up Crow. He fired everybody. He just fired everybody and brought in new workers. They didn't get hard hats until they basically said, we're not going to work anymore unless you give us hard hats. They had to make their own hard hats by taking soft hats, which I guess is just a hat, and then putting it in like coal tar and letting it, like molten coal tar, and then letting it cool. And all of a sudden you had like a homemade hard hat. And then finally the company's just like, all right, you're making us look bad. We'll get some actual ones. But it took like a little while before they had any actual hard hats on site.
Yeah, those homemade ones are called hard-boiled hats. And they really actually worked. I know that thing you sent said that some of the rocks falling on these hard-boiled hats, their head would be fine, but it would be such force it would actually break their jaw. So they worked. These hard-boiled hats actually worked. But I imagine they wanted the real thing.
You'd be like, I can think so.
And they would do tricks and stuff. Like in their downtime, they would, a lot of these people were, I mean, not a lot, but some of them were like circus workers.
Right.
And people like former military that could do this kind of thing. And apparently between working, they would fly around and do little high wire tricks and stuff.
Basically. And Native Americans, too. And you always hear about when the skyscrapers were built, they'd be like, yeah, we just hired a bunch of Native Americans and they'll run all over steel beams as much as you please without any fear. And I've always wondered why that's the case. And it's got to just be some sweeping generalization that Native Americans aren't afraid of heights, obviously. But like, are there specific tribes that were exposed to things like cliff walls for generations and generations, and that they became used to these dizzying heights so that it wasn't a big deal? And those are the same tribes that, made their way out to New York to build the skyscrapers too. We got to get to the bottom of that one.
Or maybe they were just tough and not scared of anything.
they just didn't let on.
Yeah, it's possible.
But we have to tell this one, the story of Burl R. Rutledge, though, man.
Yeah.
Like I almost faint just reading about it.
I'm sure, because you don't love heights.
No, I don't love heights. So let's just go over this one more time. If you were in the canyon rim of the Boulder Dam, Hoover Dam project at the time, you were more than 700 feet above the bottom of the canyon, which for all intents and purposes is straight down. That's like a 60-story building, basically. That's a really, really big height. And you can sense it, man. When you're there at Hoover Dam, if you haven't been, go. It's totally worth the trip for sure, especially if you're in Las Vegas. But there was a guy named Burl Rutledge who was one of the engineers for the Bureau of Reclamation, and I guess he lost his footing or something, and he fell off the canyon rim on his way down to the canyon bottom, a 60-story building below him.
That's right. And then, thankfully, he either had a former circus worker or somebody who was just very brave named Oliver Cowan, about 25 feet below, apparently heard this. I guess it caused a bit of a commotion and swung himself out. He's hanging in what's called a Borson seat, that's like sort of like a little sling seat.
Right.
He rushes over as fast as he can go, swinging out, and grabs this guy's leg as he's sliding down the canyon wall. And then another high scaler named Arnold Parks then swings over, helps him pin his body to the wall, and they held him there until they could drop a line and pull him up.
If I were Rutledge, I would have been like, just let me go, I can't stand this, I'm so scared.
They're like, Josh, we've really got you. You're okay.
Be like, I don't care.
Like, no, it's all over.
I'm never going to be the same again.
Well, that's probably true. You would just move to the lowest place in the contiguous United States.
I can't imagine what the rest of Burl Rutledge's day was after that.
Oh, I bet it was good. I bet he drank a lot.
I hope it was a good day.
Yeah.
But so that happened. Like that, like the thing that everyone's imagination thinks of when you think of a bunch of people doing construction work on a canyon ledge, that happened. And it actually panned out pretty well for Burl Rutledge, at least.
All right, man. I think it's time for a message break.
Agreed.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Everyone knows winter is the real mess maker. You don't need WeatherTech floor liners for summer unless you hit the beach and half the beach ends up back in your car, or the campsite dirt ends up in your trunk. Then you'd want a cargo liner, or a road trip goes sideways, lemonade spills, ketchup goes rogue, ice cream drips. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy about those WeatherTech seat protectors. So just to be clear, as the mud you're inevitably going to step in this summer, you don't need WeatherTech unless you plan on doing summer. Visit WeatherTech.com today. All right, so dudes are dying though. I saw anywhere between like 93 to 96 to 100 people died total in the whole project, which, all things being equal for what they were doing, isn't that high of a number. 100 lives is a lot, though, to be lost on a civic engineering project. Yeah, I saw as high as 112. And the 6 companies, again, they weren't exactly known for having like the loosest pockets if you file some sort of health claim against them for, an injury or an illness sustained working on the job. There was, I think like 42 people associated with the project died of pneumonia. But I think the Las Vegas Star did an investigation either years later at the time and said there were basically no deaths back at Boulder City of pneumonia. If there was pneumonia, it would have been going around Boulder City. And we think that really pneumonia is just a code word from the 6 companies for carbon monoxide poisoning. Oh.
because the 6 companies wanted to cover it up so they didn't have to pay out any, money to the family because they accidentally killed the dad with carbon monoxide poisoning because he was working all day alongside like a diesel engine in one of these, mile-long tunnels.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the kind of stuff that they endured. Heat stroke killed a lot of people, too.
Oh, yeah. In the summer of 1933 alone, apparently about 3 people per week were dying of heat stroke. Because,
dude, in the sun, in these tunnels in particular, apparently it would get up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is some ungodly amount in Celsius, too. And then in the shade, on the worst days, it would get to like 120 degrees in the shade.
It's a dry heat, though.
Sure. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Unless it's 120, and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and one of the common urban legends is that there are dead bodies in the concrete of Hoover Dam. That is not true, and I love how Julia put it.
Right.
Common decency aside, she says, it would have compromised the structural integrity. So they had to fish these bodies out because if you are a body in concrete, you're going to decompose eventually, and that's going to leave bubbles and introduce gas into the concrete, and that's going to weaken the structure. So they had to fish all these bodies out. And
even still, we'll talk about the concrete next, but just to kind of lay the foundation for this point, if you'll forgive the pun. When they poured a bucket's worth of concrete to build the dam face, or the dam itself, I guess, the dam was so enormous that a whole bucket only raised the level of concrete by like 2 to 6 inches, depending on the block they were pouring. So if you fell into the concrete, you fell into 2 inches of concrete, basically.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to get lost in the concrete or anything like that. And then on top of that, they even if they did not care about whether you spent eternity entombed, they would be like, well, you're not going to screw with the integrity of our dam. So yes, there's no dead bodies in there.
No dead bodies.
So let's talk about the concrete, shall we, real quick?
Yeah. So at this point, the walls are clean and smooth. They've got these abutments in place.
Which, by the way, if I may.
Yes.
Okay, so I looked all over for the abutments, and all I ever saw was it's the walls of the canyon. The rock walls of the canyon are the abutments. From what I can gather, you know how when you grab somebody nicely and in jokingly by the shoulders, right? Mm-hmm. And are holding them securely like this, right? So you've got your thumbs on the front of their arms, and you got their fingers on the back of their arms like that, right? Mm-hmm. Your fingers and thumbs are acting as abutments. And so the abutments that are holding, rather than this poor sap, who, again, you're just joking around with, rather than that person, these abutments are the canyon walls holding the dam itself in place.
That's right.
Okay.
Had you never heard the word abutment, or were you just...
I mean, I had, but like I couldn't tell if they were like parts that stuck out of the dam or parts that stuck out of the canyon walls. And I don't know, maybe it was one of those things where everybody else knows what abutments is, and that's why no one went to the trouble of explaining it. But I couldn't find it like spelled out or a good picture saying, here's the abutments. So I just assumed that no one else knew, and I was the only one digging into it. But now I feel like my eyes have been open.
Well, I have 3 fake teeth and implants, so I know what abutments are.
There you go.
It's different in your teeth, but not really.
Same word.
Yeah, same function.
Right.
So these abutments are in place, and they were like, all right, we got to start pouring some concrete. The design itself, a lot of dams use this design. It's called a gravity arch, and it's basically just using the natural pressure of the land to kind of force everything tight into that, tighten down that concrete between those 2 canyons.
Yeah, it's really ingenious, dude. It's just like an arched bridge where gravity presses down on the arch, which makes the arch press into, say, like the walls of the canyon that the bridge is crossing, and the walls of the canyon push back, which only strengthens the bridge. Same exact thing. It's like if you took an arch bridge, and put it on its side. That's what the Hoover Dam is. So when the water presses into that curve of the arch, it tries to straighten the dam, which presses the dam into the sides of the canyon walls, which press back, which strengthens the dam. It's ingenious. Ingenious, I tell you.
Yeah, and so they didn't even need that. That's kind of the funny part about all of this. There's so much concrete that it could have been a flat slab, which a lot of dams are. Mm-hmm. But apparently, engineers thought that would freak people out to have a flat slab dam that big.
Right.
And so they said, let's just curve it anyway, because everyone understands basic physics, right?
Right, and it looks cool.
And it does look very cool. All right, so we're actually finally to the concrete. There are 3.25 million cubic yards of concrete that make up the Hoover Dam, and then another 1.11 million cubic yards. And it's not just the dam face. There's a lot of, it houses a power plant and all these outlying structures. And 5 million barrels of cement, 5 million barrels went into mixing all this concrete, which they mixed on site, sent in rail cars, hoisted down on these cableways that they had built. Right. And every 78 seconds, these workers would get a new bucket of concrete to pour.
Right. For until about 5 feet of the dam had been poured. And then after that, they had to stop for 72 hours to let it cure. Because curing is a huge part when you're working with concrete. If it doesn't cure right, then the stuff inside is going to take longer to cure than the stuff outside, which isn't that big of a deal if you're pouring a driveway in a house or something like that. But when you're pouring a dam that has to have really exact dimensions, you have to keep the outside and the inside curing at about the same rate. So they came up with this really ingenious way to cure this concrete really fast, and they ran pipes, steel pipes, all through all the concrete that they poured. So there's steel pipes running all over the Hoover Dam inside of it, and they cooled water on site to just above freezing, and they pumped it through these pipes so that when they were pouring concrete, the concrete was being cooled internally, and they were spraying it with water on the outside too, so it was curing at about the same rate inside as it was outside, and it was curing fast in about 72 hours, where if they had poured a slab if they poured the Hoover Dam in one big slab and just left it, first of all, it would have been all messed up, all kinds of ways. But it also would have taken about 125 years to cure fully on its own. It'd still be curing now. But they managed to get these 5-foot increments to cure in about 72 hours. Yep. So again, just the idea that nobody had really tried something like this on this scale. So these people were kind of making it up and going and doing the math as they went along, and they were right, time after time. That's the most astounding part to me.
Yeah, the heat is a big problem for concrete because it's going to expand in that heat. Mm-hmm. And then, in the desert, it can cool down quite a bit. The temperature variation between the heat of day and at night can be really drastic. And so it's really tough to control all that, and they managed to do it, which is remarkable. They divide this whole thing up into blocks, and there are 200 blocks total making up the Hoover Dam. Depending, they're smaller at the downstream face than they are upstream, but they range from about 25 square feet to 60 square feet. And all of those blocks together, all 200 of them, make up the Hoover Dam. Finally, on May 29th, 1935, they poured that last bucket of concrete, which I imagine was a pretty darn good day.
I'll bet it was too. And then after that last block of concrete cured, they squeezed grout, which is cement and water, like a really kind of slushy mixture, into every crack and crevice there was in between those blocks to form a solid sheet. And then, just for good measure, they pumped grout into those cooling pipes. So and then they cap that off. So inside the Hoover Dam, there's enough concrete to make a 16-foot wide, 8-inch deep road all the way from San Francisco to New York.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
So, dude, I think we should do this into 2 parts.
If Evel Knievel got a 2-parter, I think the Hoover Dam deserves a 2-parter too.
We've been at it for 45 minutes, and there's still a long way to go. So,
I know.
Should we do that?
Yes, let's. So, since we're doing a two-parter, I guess that brings up listener mail, right, Chuck?
I think let's skip listener mail.
Okay.
Hoover Dam doesn't get 2 listener mails.
Okay, fine. It was getting a little ambitious. Well, in the meantime, if you want to drop us a line, you can go to stuffyoushouldknow.com and check out our social links. You can check me out on the joshclarkway.com, and you can send me, Chuck, Jerry, and everyone involved in Stuff You Should Know an email to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Hey, quick question for the parents listening right now. When's the last time your kid asked for something and you actually felt good saying yes? Because lately, a lot of families have been hearing the same thing. Can I have Lingo Kids, please?
And here's the thing. Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids with more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows. Astronauts, wild animals, superheroes, dinosaurs. It's literally everything kids love all in one place.
So when they ask for it, you can actually feel good saying yes. Download Lingo Kids for free and start exploring today, or unlock even more amazing content with Lingo Kids Plus. And if you go with the yearly plan, you can save up to 60%. Just search Lingo Kids in the App Store or Google Play. Lingo Kids, everything kids love. You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days, guaranteed, or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute. So Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, their chef-inspired flavors. It's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.